Hi there, guys. I see this question asked a lot, and I decided to tell my story in case it is helpful for somebody. So I see a lot of people asking in many different places, how do I become a data analyst? Or how do I transition into being a data analyst? So let me tell you a story of how I became a data analyst and how I transitioned into that role. So when I moved to UK 20 years ago, I had very little professional experience, and I certainly had little education as well. I had no degree, so I could only do simple jobs, especially considering the fact that my language skills weren't really there as well. But over the years, I've improved on that front, and even got myself a degree in business management at some point, whilst I was trying to work on my education. And after that, I got attracted to data a lot more. I was always interested in computers, and even as a kid, I was putting them together. Um, I was always attracted to coding, but I didn't really do it properly. So when I started working in white collar roles, or more in white collar roles, I fell into HR for some reason. I think I have seen HR as an easy way out of blue collar or physical work environments into white collar work. So I took that path because it was an easy one, I think. And after moving into HR type of field, I did that for a couple of years, but I was always the guy who people would go to for like Excel work and with technical questions. I was always good with systems, and I learned them fairly quickly. So I often became the go-to guy for technical things in the team. And then over the years, I actually ended up working for Amazon, and that's where I could really learn a lot more about data, and that was the point when it really and that was the point that was really the pivotal moment for me, because all of a sudden I was in the environment where it was encouraged to look at data. It was not only encouraged, it was necessary to do the role that I was doing um, in a correct way. So as I worked in HR department, I started seeing opportunities for little projects, and at that point, since I was always having some sort of side projects at home, at that point I started learning Python a little bit, and I started with web scraping as a lot of people do because it's interesting, and I was doing web scraping, and I was doing web scraping, and I was also interested in like web automation. So I so within the HR department where I worked, there were a number of manual tasks where we had to go into a Salesforce system actually and fill out web forms, and it's quite tedious and took a long time, um, and there was no real way around it. There was no ability to do this in bulk in the system. We had to spend hours on end making small changes multiple times. So it was something that I started to research and see whether it could be automated. And funnily enough, with web automation, it was fairly easily doable. So I was able to develop a Python script that was only about 100 lines long that would complete this very manual task. It would complete that, in fraction of a time. So it was basically a script using Selenium package that automated form filling effectively. So that um, brought some attention to my person, and I was encouraged to develop further things. And there was a second project which was not web automation; it was web scraping that I did, and it was around the monitoring what happens on job boards, basically. So I developed a web scraper, and both of these ideas attracted attention, and some of them even got used in the region where I worked, and got rolled out further within Amazon, within my local sort of um, work environment. So as I continued developing my technical abilities, I then got my sight on a MySQL legacy database that was still used for some of the elements of reporting in that said HR department, um, and I managed to convince my manager that it would be a good idea to give me access to that, which I'm very glad that he did, because that then enabled me to start working with Power BI and SQL as well, and start learning that in practical work environments. And start building very simple dashboards, and getting a little bit of understanding how things like that work. Um, so with all of those things that were happening, I was still working with HR department, but I was adding value, the technical value to my department, so that when the analyst role came up, and it was available, when I applied for it, I already had multiple projects that I had completed that would be classed as analytical projects in that work environment. So when I was lucky enough to be hired as an analyst at Amazon, the hiring manager called it an easy decision, because I didn't have to struggle through um, examples of projects that I completed, or I didn't have to reach into sort of private portfolio. What I could do is demonstrate that I've made an impact with projects at work, in my current workplace. So, so that's my story. That's how I transitioned to being a data analyst. After Amazon, I had a position within the public sector for a short while, analyzing HR data, and now I work for an automotive company, quite a well-known automotive company in UK. And so what I want to say, to summarize all this, is that if you want to transition to be a data analyst and you are currently at work, it's a great idea to look around you and see whether there's any projects that you could do to make people's lives easier, to make your own life easier. Is there anything you could automate? Is there a report you could create that would make Monday mornings easier for everyone? Is there anything you can get your hands on in terms of data to showcase that you can work with data and you can turn it into something useful? If you can get your hand on database, and ask around, see whether IT department has access, see, speak to your line manager. If you have a good manager like I did, I was really lucky. If you have a good line manager and they're slightly technical, just say that they're interested in building reports or making life easier for everybody else. So make a clear case of why giving you access to all this stuff is a good idea and how it would actually add value to everyone's work. And if you can't do that, if you can't do that at work, then you can do private projects. So you can try and get your hands on some useful data, and use that to build dashboards and to build reports and to try and showcase what you can do. Um, I use Kaggle a lot for like example work. So you can get some real data set from Kaggle. You can get data from ONS, uh, which is Office for National Statistics. If you're in UK, I'm sure there's an equivalent in states and most of the countries. So there's always data that you can get your hands on and do some work to showcase what you can do. But if you are at work, then do your best to do those projects at work, so that when the role of an analyst comes up, you can apply for it with confidence and with knowledge that you can actually do the job, which is a massive positive thing, and with ability to go into interview process and go and speak to the hiring manager with real world examples that you can showcase and tell people how much time you saved, how much money you saved, um, and your manager will also be, I'm sure, helpful and um, will support you in that. So hopefully this was useful, and I hope that by sharing my story of how I transitioned into data analysis, you will be able to sort of picture this route for yourself, and you'll be able to think how you can make it happen for yourself if you want to. And there will be more tutorials coming your way. This video was just slightly different. If you like what I share, please consider liking and subscribing. And at the point of making this video, I have 30 subscribers and 2 videos up there. So this channel is brand new. But if you like what I'm sharing, consider liking and subscribing. It really helps to keep me motivated to make more videos, and hopefully they're useful to you. So if they are, like and subscribe. If they're not, tell me why they're not. And if you have any questions, or you want to share anything with me, please comment and I'll try to respond to as many as I can. Thanks.